Everybody is going to die. In fact, every human being on this earth will at some point die. And an additional fact, the best thing about some human beings is the fact that they inevitably will die. Currently, we are sitting in a generational shift in America. The millennials, the Gen Zers, I am Gen X, the Gen Zers, the Zoomies, I think they call them, the quick adapters, whatever the fuck they all are. They are the next gen coming up. And they, unlike the baby boomers, or even Gen X, aren't exactly stupid with opportunity. Let me explain. They have now, these millennials, these Gen Zers, they are seeing the world for what it really is because they have lived it in real time. This is the generation that has grown up, generation, that have grown up in front of screens. They have watched genocide in real time. They have seen babies' faces blown off. They have seen people being starved in real time as I'm speaking right now, being starved in Gaza. They have seen illegal wars all over the world. They've seen American empire flex its muscle in the most grotesque, horrible ways possible. And the ones with conscience, the ones who have educated themselves, the one who went to college, they see this and they realize that there is no future for the empire. There is no future for America. There is no future for them. And this is a stark contrast to the generations before. Millennials have been left to defend for themselves. And so have the Gen Zers, mostly the Gen Zers. But the millennials were raised and are being raised and have, and Gen Z as well, have been raised by Gen X, my generation. My generation was the first generation post-World War II America to really suffer a bad economy, to really suffer through some real bad shit with Reaganomics ravaging the cities, with outsourcing in the 90s, NAFTA, world trade, the global trade initiatives, globalization. And what they have come to learn from all of this is that there is no future for them. They have to wait until the next generation, or the generation before them, or the generation before the Gen Xers, baby boomers, die off. They have to wait for their grandparents to finally shuffle off this mortal coil. But that won't matter either because of the privatization that has gone on in the privatization has happened with neoliberal politics since 1990-ish. 92, 93, Clintonomics. This is a generation who has lived under the thumb of a war on terror. An event happening in 2001 that still, when you go to the airport, you have to take off your belt and your shoes. Never mind all the security, never mind the x-ray machines, never mind all of that shit and the checkpoints. You literally have to take off your belt and shoes still. It's 2025. This is the generation who has seen the rise in the police state. They have witnessed the crackdown, unprecedentedly so, of anti-war protesters, anti-genocide protesters, people, and if they were alive, many of them weren't, but they might be, they'll remember Occupy Wall Street and Black Lives Matter and everybody having a cell phone recording in the mid 2010, 11, 12, started to record black men and women being murdered in their cars by police, mostly white. And this generation has they have friends this is a mixed generation. This is a generation unlike even the most melting of melting pots. This generation, Gen Xers, Gen Zers and millennials, they have friends who are LGBTQ. They have friends who don't gender identify, they're gender fluid. They understand these concepts. They're not scared by the old rigidity of genders talk. They're not scared by the old talk of racism and institutional racism because they've seen it firsthand in real time. One of the things that the baby boomers and even Gen X lack is an ability to discuss race and to discuss LGBTQ plus, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, issues, because they don't understand it and they lived in such an oppressive religious time, fundamentally speaking, that they just hated the sin but loved the sinner. Well, now these kids today, they don't even think in those terms. Obviously, there are young people who are MAGA, who are conservatives, because this is a conservative country, but even the conservatives know gay people, outwardly homosexual people, outwardly LGBTQ. Outward. They work and know African Americans and Latinx and Asian Americans. They see it, they know it. Some of their favorite people that they watch on YouTube and streamers are minorities. Some of the biggest YouTube pages, YouTube and other social media, are gay men and women and minorities talking about a variety of things from politics to celebrity culture. They're not afraid of the other like the boomers are and Gen X are. Gen X lived through 9/11. We were all in our late 20s during 9/11, or roughly. It was a real hell of a time, and we lived through that. We lived through the bank bailouts as Gen Xers. We've lived through our parents being horrible boomers who were selfish and self-involved and were just free to do whatever the hell they wanted to do at any time. And economically speaking, the boomers were in an unprecedented time in America, financially. Gen X saw the tail end of that and got some of it on them. And then now is seeing that if they didn't buy a house in the early 2000s, or if they tried to wait, it was a mistake because housing prices are astronomical now. Everything is more expensive. Go look at the price of an F-150 pickup truck with some bells and whistles on it. It's $100,000. When I was growing up, a pickup truck was like 15 grand. A better pickup truck, a pickup truck that would last longer, that didn't have recalls, and had a bigger bed so you could actually fit something in it. So this is the age, these kids today are being ripped off wholesale. They are being stolen from. Their futures are stolen from them. They have to pay in an education system that doesn't guarantee them a job when they get out or a job that pays well when they get out. They live in a society where they get nothing. And this does one of two things. Either it turns you into a socialist, where we need larger government to help take care of people. That's the role of government. Or it leads you to the other way of why the fuck would I contribute anything meaningful to this shitty, shallow government? Let's tear it, MAGA. Let's tear it to the fucking ground and restart over again. Or tear it to the ground, have revolution, and have it be more, libertarian. This generation is waiting for the baby boomers to die off. I think they're waiting for the Gen Xers to die off. I just don't want to think of that terms because I'm a Gen Xer. But I think they're waiting for the baby boomers to die off. This society is on the verge of a major collapse. And when I say our society collapse, I mean the empire. I mean all of the accoutrement of what an empire, when it stretches itself too thin and doesn't take care of its people, end up being. You end up living in a plutocracy where all money is funneled to the top 1%. Wealth transfers, like what happened during COVID. The bank bailouts, like what happened during TARP. They didn't go to benefit the average person. They went to benefit banks and the neoliberalism that has overtaken America. And now they have come to the postmodern part of the empire, which is Donald Trump. I call it postmodern surreal. He is literally taking gifts from Qatar. He is taking jets. He is going to Saudi Arabia and selling them $1 trillion worth of military aid. And basically that's just a bribe. Basically, they're spending that money because they don't have a choice because America controls Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's OPEC, obviously, but man, America's presence in Saudi Arabia is huge. And one of the reasons they do this is so they can offset Iran. You know, they don't want them getting too close, even though they've recently, Saudi Arabia and Iran have become more allies. All of this is being seen by this generation. All of it's being seen by Gen Z and the millennials and the ones that are coming up behind it. They have no future because the people at the top won't allow them to have a future. And they're going to eventually say, I hope, say, fuck it. What do I have to lose? The only thing that maybe will stop any of this from happening is the Bread and CIRCUSES portion of the show. It's the Bread and CIRCUSES portion of America. It's internet, video games, Hollywood, the music industry, the fashion industry. These are incredible distractions that other generations did not have to this degree. You spend all day long online. You spend all day long on parasocial relationships. No one thought Ron Popeil was their friend. No Gen Xer in the middle of the night was watching Ron Popeil because there was nothing else on before they fell asleep on their couch. They didn't think Ron Popeil was selling you a fucking, a rotisserie on countertop rotisserie, thought Ron Popeil was their buddy. They didn't unless they were elderly. Now, all these kids have parasocial relationships. They grew up with Jake Paul. They grew up with Ethan Klein, for Christ's sake. They grew up with some of Joe Rogan. They've grown up with some of the absolute worst, untalented freeloaders. And I call them freeloaders because there is no investment in social media. The only investment is your time. That's it. And maybe a cell phone or a laptop. I mean, it's the ultimate grift that you can do your whole show from your living room. Have no overhead, maybe pay a producer $1,000 to edit your video or $500 depending on how popular you are. And so these kids have been raised by the worst kind of people. We were raised as Gen Xers, we were raised by TV as well. But we were raised by the three media, ABC, NBC, CBS. We were raised by the birth of Fox, The Simpsons, that kind of stuff. And we there were still some filters. There's no filters anymore for these kids. So now the only thing that may keep them from ever really getting pissed off enough and saying fuck it is the fact that they are so distracted and that they have grown up with so many bad examples of human beings. All of these capitalists who accumulate, sell you products, accumulate, look what I'm driving, look at the watch I'm wearing, etc. So hopefully the grotesque nature of this postmodern, surreal, capitalist atmosphere will dawn on these kids and they will become punk. They will strip it the fuck down to its fucking studs and realize that its money is hollow. Accumulation of wealth is hollow. It doesn't make society any better. And the people at the top, inevitably, that accumulate all the wealth are the worst kind of fucking people. And maybe that reckoning will allow a new future to come forward. I sure hope so, because I have young people in my life who I love and I want to see them have a better future. But my suggestion would be to them, right now, get a passport as soon as you can, get your education in America, borrow as much money as you can, and get the fuck out of here. Go to another country, establish residency, and fuck your Social Security, and fuck your citizenship, and fuck all of that bullshit that America is. Squeeze America out of America as much as you can, and get out. Run up over your credit card, borrow as much money as you can, go to college, get a degree, and then go teach English in fucking Ecuador. Or go to Brazil, or go to fucking Chile, or go somewhere in the global south, Asian countries, etc., and get out of here. That's what I'm suggesting to my young people that I love. But because I don't see it changing. But I do have hope. And again, everyone's going to die. And the best part about some people is the fact that they will inevitably die. Thank you for listening.